The air in Dallas was electric just a week ago. The Cowboys were riding high, their offense clicking in a way that made fans believe the long-awaited Super Bowl run might finally be within reach. Dak Prescott was in rhythm, CeeDee Lamb was shredding secondaries like paper, and KaVontae Turpin was injecting energy with every explosive play. Cowboys Nation felt like destiny was finally swinging their way. But in the NFL, hope can vanish in an instant. And in Dallas, it vanished the moment two names appeared on the injury report that CeeDee Lamb. KaVontae Turpin. The announcement hit Cowboys fans like a punch to the gut. Two of their most dynamic weapons, both sidelined. Suddenly, the high-flying Dallas offense that had been striking fear across the NFC looked fragile, almost exposed. For a team that has built its identity on star power and offensive firepower, the timing couldn't have been worse. CeeDee Lamb is more than just Dak Prescott's favorite target. He's the heartbeat of the Cowboys' passing game. His ability to stretch the field, to make contested catches, to turn a short route into a game-breaking play has made him one of the most feared wideouts in the league. When Lamb lines up wide, defenses shift, coordinators panic, and corners know they're in for a long night. Without him, Dak loses his security blanket, his playmaker, his go-to weapon when the game is on the line. And then there's KaVontae Turpin. He's not the biggest name in Dallas, but his presence is like a spark plug. Whether it's special teams magic, jet sweeps, or quick screens, Turpin's speed and unpredictability give the Cowboys that X factor every championship team needs. He's the kind of player who can flip momentum in a heartbeat, who can change the energy of a stadium with one electrifying play. Losing him at the same time as Lamb feels less like bad luck and more like a curse. The reaction was immediate. On social media, Cowboys fans flooded timelines with disbelief. Memes of broken stars and crumbling castles spread like wildfire. Sports talk shows turned their opening segments into full-on crisis debates. Can Dak survive without Lamb? Is Dallas cursed? Is this the end of their Super Bowl hopes before they even began? Inside AT&T Stadium, the shockwaves were just as heavy. Teammates admitted the locker room felt different, quieter, even unsettled. They know that in the NFL, injuries don't just test depth, they test belief. And belief has always been Dallas' greatest weakness. For decades, the Cowboys have had the talent, the hype, the headlines. But when adversity strikes, history shows they sometimes crumble. Now, with Lamb and Turpin both sidelined, the team faces the ultimate test. Can they survive without their stars? What makes the situation even more brutal is the timing. The NFC race is tighter than ever, with rivals like the Eagles, 49ers, and Lions all flexing their strength. For Dallas to compete, every weapon mattered. Lamb's route running, Turpin's spark, Dak's chemistry with both, it was the formula. And now that formula has been ripped apart, leaving questions no one seems ready to answer. Jerry Jones, never shy of the cameras, put on his usual bravado. "We'll be fine," he said, brushing aside concerns. But even behind the smile, even behind the rehearsed optimism, you could see it in his eyes, worry. Because Jerry knows as well as anyone that the Cowboys are not just a football team. They're a brand, an empire. And empires don't run on excuses. They run on results. For the fans, it feels like déjà vu. Every time the Cowboys build momentum, something goes wrong. A missed kick, a blown call, an injury at the worst possible moment. Now, with Lamb and Turpin both out, there's a sense of dread that maybe, just maybe, history is repeating itself. But that's what makes this story more than just another injury report. It's not about two players missing time. It's about the soul of a team standing at the edge of collapse. It's about whether Dak Prescott can carry the weight of the star on his helmet without his biggest playmakers. It's about whether the Cowboys can find strength in the shadows, or whether they will once again fade when the lights are brightest. The injury crisis has cracked open the Cowboys season, exposing questions that no one wanted to ask. Can their backups rise? Can the defense carry the load? Can Dak transform from a quarterback into a leader who makes everyone around him better? For now, the only certainty is uncertainty. The Cowboys' dream season has hit its first major storm, and the path forward is murky. The fans are restless, the rivals are watching, and the NFL world is waiting to see if Dallas can survive the fall of its stars. The question hangs heavy, unshakable, like a storm cloud over Texas. Without Lamb and Turpin, can the Cowboys still believe? Because if they can't, The season they thought was destiny may already be over. The moment the news of CeeDee Lamb and KaVontae Turpin's injuries broke, the immediate reaction was panic. But the NFL doesn't pause for pain, and the Dallas Cowboys don't get sympathy in the race for a Super Bowl. Now, the focus has shifted from shock to survival. Chapter 2 is not just about what happened. It's about what comes next and whether this team has the resilience to turn crisis into opportunity. First, let's look at the facts. Early reports suggest that Lamb's injury, though worrying, may not be season-ending. The recovery window depends on how his body responds, but optimism remains that he could return before the most critical stretch of games. For Turpin, however, the situation is trickier. A foot injury is not one you rush back from. His speed and agility are his greatest weapons, and any misstep in his rehab could mean losing the very edge that makes him valuable. In a league where a split-second burst can be the difference between a touchdown and a tackle, this injury clouds everything. And so, the Cowboys find themselves staring into a mirror. For years, critics have accused them of being a team too dependent on stars, too reliant on highlight reel players to mask deeper weaknesses. Now, with Lamb and Turpin both gone, Dallas has to dig deeper than it ever has. It's no longer about star power, it's about character. This is where Dak Prescott enters the spotlight. For nearly a decade, Dak has lived under the microscope, praised for his consistency, but criticized for his inability to carry the Cowboys to the promised land. Now, without his most trusted target, the spotlight on Dak is blinding. Can he elevate the receivers who remain? Can he build chemistry with backups who have been waiting in the shadows? The pressure is immense. Because if Dak can rise in this moment, he will silence his doubters once and for all. But if he falters, the narrative that has haunted him, that he can't deliver when the odds are stacked, will grow louder than ever. The supporting cast knows what's at stake. Michael Gallup, once hailed as a rising star, now has the chance to prove he can shoulder the load. Rookie receivers who were drafted for depth suddenly find themselves thrust into primetime roles. The tight end core, led by Jake Ferguson, must evolve from safety valves into playmakers. And then there's Tony Pollard, whose versatility may now become the Cowboys' most critical weapon. For years, Dallas has leaned on its passing game, but with its top receivers sidelined, the ground game must carry more weight than ever did on the defensive side. The challenge is different, but equally critical. Micah Parsons and the rest of the defense know that their margin for error just shrank. If the offense slows, the defense must become suffocating. They can no longer afford slip-ups or fatigue. Parsons has already built a reputation as one of the most feared defenders in the league, but now his leadership will be tested. Can he inspire his unit to carry the burden until the offense heals? Can the defense buy Dak and the Cowboys' offense the time they need? Meanwhile, the rest of the NFL is watching. The Eagles smell blood. The 49ers are circling. NFC rivals understand that Dallas is wounded, and in this league, weakness is exploited ruthlessly. Every team facing the Cowboys over the next few weeks will see opportunity, not sympathy. They will press harder, blitz more, attack relentlessly, hoping to capitalize on a Dallas team stripped of its sharpest weapons. And yet, within this crisis lies an opportunity that could redefine the Cowboys. For decades, Dallas has been accused of being more flash than substance, more hype than heart. But what if, in this very moment, stripped of its stars, the team discovers something deeper? What if the backups rise, the defense dominates, and Dak transforms from a talented quarterback into a fearless leader? What if this storm becomes the crucible that forges a champion? Jerry Jones knows the weight of this moment. His words, often filled with bravado, now carry a sharper edge. "We're not done," he insists. And whether that's a promise or a plea, one thing is clear. The Cowboys' future depends on what happens next. For the fans, the waiting is agony. Every injury update, every practice report feels like a lifeline. But beneath the frustration, there's a spark of belief. Because true fans know that greatness isn't proven when everything goes right. It's proven when everything falls apart. And so here we are. The Cowboys season stands on a knife's edge. One path leads to collapse, to another year of what-ifs and wasted potential. The other path leads to resilience, to a story that could be retold for years. The season when Dallas lost its stars, but found its soul. This is no longer about Lamb's routes or Turpin's speed. This is about Dallas itself, The character of its quarterback, the heart of its roster, the resilience of its franchise. When history looks back on this season, it won't just ask how many games Dallas won. It will ask, when the storm came, did the Cowboys fall, or did they fight? And that answer, more than any injury, will decide if 2025 is remembered as a season of heartbreak or the beginning of something legendary.